Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center?
Have you been wondering how frightening the future is going to be post-singularity? Well, a new pro-transhumanism TV show hopes to sell you on the idea of a world filled with robots. Almost Human takes place in 2048 LA, where detectives are forced to partner with synthetic, combat-ready androids. The droids have a strictly rule-based sense of reason, which is of course a trait that's perfect for combat and controlling the useless herd. But after their strict robo-logic botches a raid, Detective John Kennicks destroys his partner and is reassigned to Dorian. Dorian is a different kind of robot, an older model that was decommissioned when their human-like qualities began to interfere with their purpose. And since Dorian is such a likable robot, it forces the audience to consider, what does it really mean to be human?
I can't say that I was born, but I was made to feel. And I do, as much as you.
Don't think a robot with human-like qualities is possible? Well, Google futurist Ray Kurzweil says this is probably going to happen before the end of the century.
We're going to become increasingly non-biological to the point where the non-biological part predominates and the biological part is not that important anymore. In fact, the non-biological part, the machine part, will be so powerful it can completely model and understand the biological part. So even if that biological part went away, it wouldn't make any difference because the non-biological part already understood it completely.
Kurzweil also predicts that humans will be uploading their brains to computers by 2045. However, when Kurzweil talks about we, he's not talking about you or I, he's talking about the 1%. He admits in his book such technology will not be available to the general public and instead will be controlled by a technocratic elite who will attempt to become super beings by merging with machines. This dystopic future will see the mass of humanity trapped in their limited organic bodies, while the elite will become vastly more intelligent due to cybernetic brain interface upgrades. People involved in unskilled labor will become unnecessary when their jobs are replaced by machines, inevitably leading to the mass of humanity being seen as worthless parasites by the elite who will either prevent them from reproducing via mass sterilization programs or simply slaughter them outright. You think your job is safe? Well, they're even replacing your everyday sign spinner with robotic mannequins. But you still don't think the elite are planning to cull the useless herd. Well, in addition to forced vaccinations and GMOs destroying second and third generations, schools are now teaching population reduction as a way to save the planet. We reported in March on the Chinese eugenics factory that collects genius DNA to breed enhanced people, while Americans show some reservations with playing God. According to one of the geniuses selected for the program, the Chinese are all about breeding superior humans. And Google just announced Calico, a new company whose ultimate purpose is to radically extend the human lifespan. For those who can afford it, of course. Reporting for the InfoWars Nightly News, I'm Leanne McAdoo.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is October 31st. It is, of course, the year 2013. And trick or treat, the globalists think they're God. Ray Kurzweil, that heads up the futurist development programs for Google, of course, is a globalist exterminist as well, openly telling you their plan. And when I made a film 8 years ago, in-game, documenting it, they had the New York Times and others come out and say that I was a liar for quoting his best-selling book. That's how dumb they think their readers are. That's how dumb. I've been attacked by MSNBC, you name it, for just quoting what all of the top elites say the plan is. This is a public plan. The reason I mentioned this at the start of the broadcast, big transmission lined up today, a lot of important breaking news, is this story from Michael Schneider, the American Dream blog, is up on drudgereport.com on the right-hand side. It's very important. A chip in the head, brain implants, will be connecting people to the internet very, very soon. We're going to look at that and Google denying they are connected to the NSA. That's actually true. They're above the NSA. They are the shadow eugenics technocratic system. Hallmark are good little authoritarians on this Halloween. They're removing the word gay from famous Christmas carols because it's hateful, even though the word was expropriated from the term meaning happy. And there's moves to arrest anyone in England who uses the word faggot because, well, that's what they call a burning ember, or what they call barbecue. I myself was in a barbecue place in England, and that was the name of roasted meat, very homophobic and hateful. I'm just thankful parents can't pack their children their own lunches, and then under federal control, we have abortions going on nationwide where babies spend more than 24 hours crying on shelves because legally they're not allowed to kill them once they're outside the womb unless they kill them by exposure. But none of that's upsetting. Life is very cheap unless the globalists decide it has value. They're very concerned about terrorists killing a couple of us every year. That's why they're taking all our liberties away. It's not about enslaving us. It's not about controlling us. Well, happy All Saints Eve, ladies and gentlemen. Or, of course, the holiday overriding the Samhain rituals going on all over Europe right now. And again, there's a lot of pagans out there who I understand are not dark practitioners and worshipers of death and destruction and child sacrifice. But you have to understand that this holiday historically is a fact in Europe, a time when noblemen, the wealthy, shopkeepers, folks that owned large herds had to pay homage to the priesthood to show that they had domination over everyone, including local kings. And sometimes they would demand that the king have his brains be beaten out and then his throat slit and poured over altars, or his brains beat out and thrown into a peat bog, or his throat slit and thrown into a large bonfire, the term we get bonfire, from that, on record. Many different ways of doing things, or, of course, putting you in a large wicker burning man and setting you alight. It was a time for the priesthood to show they were in control of everything. And so by the 1950s, they overwrote All Saints Day, a time of hiding in your house, fearing the satanic rituals still being conducted to this day on Devil's Night, as it's known in Detroit when they burn down the buildings. They overwrote it as fun with pumpkins and everything, and your children go out in a druidic simulation, and they come as druids would come to the door and demand offerings. Demand offerings. And you show that you're submitting to it and going along with it by lighting a gourd and putting it in front of your door. They might demand your horse to be roasted, one of the delicacies at that time. Or they might demand some of your cattle. Or sometimes they will demand your child. But again, I'm being close-minded about all this. I think it's good that we've reintroduced human sacrifice, and 53 million babies have been given to the fires of Moloch, as Leviticus warned. Oh, same stuff was going on in the Middle East, of course, in the Mediterranean. Same stuff was going on in Asia. Same stuff was going on in Latin America. What is Latin America today? Mesoamerica. It's just the same thing. And now we have all these different top BBC presenters caught with dead bodies of children and necrophilia and Satanism, Jimmy Savile, and then when they start to have trials, the people that work for him all start dying. It all continues on. It all goes on. It all continues. But during the Middle Ages, if you wanted to have satanic rituals, you would just say you were going after witches, while you yourself, this is actually in the deep history, would actually burn women and men and even children having your satanic ritual while claiming you were a Christian, which made it even more delicious. Just like our government says they're fighting Al-Qaeda while they created it, fund it, protect it, run it. It's full spectrum dominance. So that's how this stuff works. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break down how the globalists operate. You notice in Latin, I forget the term, but there was the denial that witchcraft existed, when obviously witchcraft existed. All that meant was secret old knowledge, some of it dark, some of it not dark. The point is it all had roots in pre-Christian, so it's occultic or hidden by its very nature. But just as they deny there's a UN takeover, or deny that there's mercury in the shots, we prove there's mercury, they say, okay, it's good for you. The devil's greatest trick is convincing you that it doesn't exist. But we all know it exists. And just as the desire to kill innocents can manifest through Christianity or anything else, we have the famous Salem witch trials where you just had a bunch of control freaks wanting to carry out torture, so they went out and went after innocent people who were doing nothing wrong so they could carry out their deep human need to engage in human sacrifice, in this case, crushing women and men with giant boulders lowered onto them by oxen. But I now digress. I just thought I would give you a little bit of Halloween knowledge. And I'm not saying you're satanic, and I'm not judging you if your children go around to strangers' doors, knock on them, and are given candy. But they are following in the footsteps of thousands of years of Druidic priests. That is exactly what they're doing. And see, if you didn't offer them up whatever they wanted, people rebelled against it. Because they weren't trendy pagans. No, they were sick of giving their cows to the priesthood, running around, taking hemlock and nightshade and mistletoe, flipping out, running around in the countryside, drinking blood, murdering people. And if you rebelled, well, then your whole family would be burned. And I think that's good. It's not good to rebel against any tyranny, any gang. I think it's good to submit to it. I'm trendy. And just as they came out yesterday and announced they're going to bring back the fairness doctrine and persecute and prosecute all the different media, including the internet, with these new secret police that go out with these mandatory, that aren't really mandatory, it's all fraud, questionnaires about what's your politics, what are you doing, ahead of the open announcements they want to bring back restrictions on free speech. That is why now more and more I'm going to implement fairness doctrine here ahead of time. I will tell you what I really think about tyranny, and then I will add the view of the establishment. I think Obamacare is working great. I think 539% Humana increases in Texas on record is a affordable care and is a lower price. And I think increasing the national debt limit does not increase the debt. I agree with Obama's quote on that. And I agree with him last week saying that it's been an incredible success and is outperforming what they thought. And I don't agree with the facts that it was designed to never work and make it a distraction about the healthcare site. You know, the NSA, flawlessly as Snowden broke down, can spy on everything everybody's doing in real time because they've been developing the system for 50 years and integrating all software and all devices to seamlessly integrate through world standardization to be spied on and to track everything in their own words. But they can't make a website for you to be able to go and look at a bunch of different health plans, which a lot of tech people say is a hard job, but nothing compared to the giant spy grid. Of course, and I told you it wasn't going to work. I told you it was just going to be a process where, oh, sorry, it's not free, the website didn't work, but your rates are going to go up, and we're going to lower your standard of care. That's what the insurance companies wrote. That's why their profits doubled, the Big 10, in the last 3 years since it passed, and are now set to double or more this year alone. That's mainstream news. But don't worry, Obama came out today, and I've got the quote here, and said, it's a few bad apples. The entire top 10 insurance companies have all hammered up their rates. And even though Obamacare tries to take over the states, still the states are fighting. That's why some states, you know, you're getting higher increases than others. But this is the greatest profit and banker bailout and direct tax to foreign institutions the world has ever seen. It is a biblical level fraud. Just like when the bankers take over Argentina or Brazil or 100 plus of the third world countries on record, they will come in and say, we've signed you onto our debt. We loaned you $1 billion. You now own us 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 billion, depending on which loan it is. You're going to hand over all the water districts, all the public power plants, all the infrastructure, and then they double them. And then they double them again over a few years until everything breaks down. And then they have a plan. I think it's Part 111 in the World Bank plan that got leaked a few years ago, 2002. Yeah, time went by like dust till dawn. I tell you, life is short, folks. I guess that was 11 years ago. And they said, and the best part is when things finally collapse, there's rioting. The longer it goes, the better. Several years is wonderful. Total destruction of society. And then they come in and everyone begs them for anything. They accept police state, anything to have the society set back up, and you're totally broken. And now we're going to go through this. And now we're going to go through this. And now we're going to go through this. And now we're going to go through this.